Welcome to the Fezzer Garage. I'm Justin and this is YouTube's most seriously average car channel. Now today I'm a little bit late with my video this week. Just busy, and these things take a lot longer than you think. But the video today is with the Focus RS MK1 and we're going to have a bit of a chat about what it's like to live with it on a daily basis. Roll footage, Roxy. Let's be clear, this is not a standard Focus RS MK1. This one has had a few modifications. It's running about, I think when it was dynoed, it was 307 horsepower. The original one was 212. This one has different suspension, so I think it's a lot stiffer than the original car. The exhaust pipe is also non-standard, and you can see there are dials here, with all sorts of sensors. This car has been quite heavily modified, well modified. So this is a living with this RS, which is not maybe necessarily the same as living with a standard Focus RS MK1. Let's begin in its non-habitual environment, town driving. We're just coming up to a little mini roundabout, which I once did a video on for the Focus RS Mark III, and it's a little mini roundabout, and I showed that actually that car can't go round that roundabout in one go. But you know what? This one can. That's a plus point for the Focus RS MK1. This is the type of environment that this car does not relish. The clutch is a little bit heavy and the car just feels quite clunky at slow speeds. And so when you're sort of pottering around like this, it's a little bit just, I don't know, it's not easy. And if you're parking, like now, you know what I miss? I miss reversing sensors. Some parking sensors. There's no parking sensors. I have no idea now. Anyway, we'll leave that parking. It's not going to happen. It's so weird, isn't it? I spent years of my life parking absolutely fine without sensors or cameras or anything, and I've just got so used to it with the BMW, even with the Dacia, that has sensors all around. It's got its reversing camera, and with this one, you just have to work out the extremities. And it sounds a bit silly, but you're always worried you're going to hit something. Ooh, that's definitely one of the areas where this car does not excel, and that's comfort. I mean, the seats are relatively comfortable, and I have done long journeys in it, and it's absolutely fine. That's making a lot of noise there. But the suspension is rock solid. This one is just nuts. And I am quite tempted to put it back to its original suspension, because whoever had this before did not care about their back. While we're pottering around in an area that this car was definitely not designed for, let's just talk about some of the things that I quite like about it. Well, I like the fact that it doesn't have all that nonsense you get on new cars. It doesn't have any stop-start, there's no stupid touch screen, everything is manual. You turn the lights on manually, you turn the wipers on manually. There's no, and this was really one of probably my favourite points, there's no annoying warning when you haven't put your seatbelt on. There was nothing worse. The BMW, even if you were just crawling around a parking, so you got in the car and you just wanted to move it from one place to another place, and you were going to take 10 seconds, it would start bleeping. Din din, din din, din din. I'm like doing 2 kilometers an hour. I don't leave my seatbelt right now, and it used to drive me crazy. This one, it doesn't care whether you put your seatbelt on or not, at whatever speed. 0 warnings, and I love that. I love the fact that it's got a manual handbrake. Oh, I miss manual handbrakes when I don't have manual handbrakes. I hate electronic handbrakes. And this one doesn't have any heavy batteries. There's no batteries, there's no hybrid. I just love the simplicity of the car. Back in an era where it was just you and the car just having a bit of fun and enjoying it. And this car, excuse the speed bumps, but you see, pottering around town, this car is really low. I mean, like, really low. It just scrapes everywhere you go. The front the front bumper is getting destroyed pretty quickly. Every time I go to my office, just come in, it's quite a steep incline into the office, and no matter what I do, it just scrapes at the bottom. So there's no point in repairing it. It's only going to get worse and worse and worse. One of the things as well is whenever I'm parking the car, I always find that I'm very worried about people hitting it. Right, let's just do a quick... Oh, a lot of wheel spin there. Always jump the roundabout. Come on, guys. That's what it's all about. So as I was saying, I'm just always really worried about people hitting the car because in fact, I'm doing more damage to it than anybody else, to be fair. I've knocked 2 of the alloy wheels. I've scratched the front of the car. Just trying to compensate for like the fact that you know, I'm trying to take entrances to garages at an angle to not scrape the bottom. That's when I hit the right side because I wasn't looking, and it's like, so there's some annoyances like that. Yeah, no, but I'm always worried that people are going to hit the car. Especially when I'm parked somewhere and people open the door and they knock it, because here in Spain that just seems to be really common. So you can't put the power down, it's really hard. This is actually a really difficult car to drive, and I'm not talking about the stiffness of it or anything like that. This doesn't have any traction control. The only thing it has is ABS. It doesn't have anything else. It's you and the car, literally. And it's really hard to control, and that might sound a bit silly, and I don't know if it's unique to this one or all RSs are the same, but this one has a hybrid turbo, and so there's a real delay. Like, I'm flooring it now. The turbo kicks in quite late, and then it's like all at once, and so you end up having to back off, and you're the one trying to control the power. Which actually is what makes it really good fun, but it's not a relaxing drive. And often my kids are in the car and they're like, Dad, can you take it easy? I'm like, I'm trying to. It's really hard. This car just always wants to go that little bit quicker. Like now, it's really hard to drive. It's really hard to drive fast. And I know that sounds silly, but it really is, because the power delivery is not linear at all. It's like, oof, in your face. This gearbox, it's one of the nicest gearboxes I've used in a long time. It's really short throw, it's very stiff. It just feels really like, ooh, yeah, like a manly gear shift. Shouldn't say that these days, probably. But it feels solid, you know? It's like a proper, whoa, put it into gear and you feel it going into gear. And actually the pedals are nicely positioned for some heel and toe in like that, you see? You see, coming out here, just slides, control the power as much as possible. It's really tough. See, the heel and towing, absolutely fine. But if you really want to enjoy this car, you've got to take it on a winding road. Let's go, baby. Ooh, this car does. If you're not accelerating through the corner, it has so much grip. And you can power through a corner, but you have to be very careful. Oh, nice. Lancia, I think. Let's see, this is where it comes alive. This is where you can really start to enjoy what this car is really all about. You do not want to be pottering around in town. Yes, it's a bit bumpy, but that gearbox is such a pleasure to use. get a bit hot in here. I got up really early the other morning and I took a drive up to one of the villages up in the mountains. Oh, and it was just such a fun day. There's so much power, but it's difficult to control. I've had this car for nearly a year, and the reality is it's taken me quite a while to really understand the car. And probably the longest it's taken me for any car. Oh, don't want to lose it now. Whoa. Oh, yes. It's taken me a long time to really get to grips with this car and really learn how to drive it quick. Because like I said, you can't just plant your foot down. Like the BMW, you could plant your foot down and it would just take off, shift through the gears with the paddles. It was relatively easy, and as long as you had, you know, your sport mode and the systems are there to help you, nothing's going to happen. It's very rare that you're going to try it, unless it's really... microphone fell off. So I was saying, the BMW by comparison was really easy to drive because it sort of, well, did a lot for you. This one doesn't. You've just got to do it all yourself. I love this old feel to it. I love that you're so connected to the car. So different to having a manual gearbox compared to an automatic car. So different, so much more engaging, and this is a real delight. I'm glad this car's been modified. I'm really glad it's got 300 odd horsepower, because if anything, some of the reviews of the original car were a little bit like, yeah, it doesn't have a lot of power, which it didn't have a lot of power, but this one does. Right, we're going to turn around because he's going really slow. So yeah, I was saying that I got up early the other day on a Sunday morning and I went, okay, come on. I went up to a village up in the mountains there. I will do that. I didn't film it because I just wanted to enjoy the drive and not like do it for the cameras or for YouTube, you know. And I just had so much fun. I was like, wow, this is such a good fun. It was a lot. It sort of started to really make sense. The more I take it out on roads like this, it really makes a lot of sense. That's the problem with this car. I'm using it as a daily car. I go to work in it, I go to the shops in it, I go to the beach in it. Everything I do in this car. The BMW is long gone. I'm not really missing it, to be honest. But this one is, every day. As an everyday car, it's a little bit challenging. But we don't have any Bluetooth. I don't listen to music anymore. I go around in silence, and I really like that. We only need the noise of the car, and this makes a nice noise. And you know what is amazing? This car is 20 years old. 20 years old. But give me 300 horsepower any day in a tiny little car. That's the other thing as well. This car is tiny. It's so small. If you look at the Focus today, it's like, it must be another half again of this car. This is a really small car. When you overtake, you really have to hold on, because it could easily throw you into the ditch. So let's just summarize this, shall we? Possibly one of the most fun cars I've ever had. And I've had some really good cars. The GT86, for example, loved that car, super tail happy, loved it, still love it. Obviously the Ford Focus RS MK1, I had the Golf GTI. I've had quite a few nice cars. This one is a bit different. It's a bit old school. I just like old school. Maybe it's my age, but to use it every day is a problem. This is a handful, and it's all the better for it. But as a daily car, I'm not sure. It's too compromised. This particular car is too stiff. I'm sort of worried that people are going to hit it, that they're going to damage it. You know, this is practically a classic car. In fact, I'm part of a club called a Classic and Sports Car Club. And when I told them I bought this car, they desperately want me to take it to one of the events, and I'm taking it tomorrow to an event, because this is a really rare car. You don't see them. In fact, when I was at the port this morning, I've overlaid some footage when I was at the port, and when I was at the port this morning having some breakfast, I parked it up there, and when you watch, so many people go and look at the car because they probably haven't seen one for years, if they've ever seen one at all. I think they only imported 200 into Spain. This is a truly rare car. It's just a little bit compromised. So that's why half the time I just end up getting the Dacia. Oh, that's so nice.